Hi there, it's been a while. Demonstrations are a great subject for photographs. When Presidents Putin and Trump were visiting Helsinki, of course, there were a lot of demonstrations. I was photographing the main demonstration on Sunday the 15th of July for the organizers. And now I will share 6 tips for photographing demonstrations, and actually these apply to any other big venues. But before we get into the points, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that bell so you won't miss any videos in the future. The number 1 is planning. Making images in a big event always needs some planning beforehand. And when it comes to demonstrations, the most important thing, of course, is the route of the demonstration. And what are the best locations to make images? And the second thing is the weather. On that day, on July 15th, we had a very hot weather. It was over 30 degrees in Celsius, and that is very hot in Helsinki. And of course, that means that the sun was shining all the time. The things you have to consider are, of course, common sense. Get some water. The weather is also very crucial when choosing the spot where to photograph. Where I come to the third is the location, which is, of course, the first concern when you make images is the location. In a sunny weather, in a big city, of course, there are a lot of deep, dark shadows and then bright sunlight, and that means a big contrast in the image. So when the weather is very sunny, it's very crucial to pick the right spot to make your images. You might want to pick a spot where there is a lot of shadow, or then you might want to pick a place where there's a lot of sunlight. It depends what you want to tell. But remember, direct sunlight is very harsh on your subjects, no matter what the subject is. And it's always wise to check all those things beforehand. Even though I was making the images in my hometown in Helsinki, Finland, I still had to check out the time where the sun falls into that route that they had on the demonstration. I use an app called Light Track. That's a very good app to tell you where the sun is shining and how high it is, how long are the shadows. I really recommend of using some kind of app. This Light Track app is both for iOS and Android device. And of course the background is also important when choosing location, and I always try to get a location background is not too distracting, but you can still tell that you're in a city. But that's always some kind of a compromise how to cope with that, because usually in the cities there are a lot of distractions on the backgrounds, but try to pick a neutral background. And the fourth one is the message of the demonstration. This demonstration's message was human rights, freedom of press, the climate change. All those things that most likely the President Putin and Trump won't be addressing or won't be discussing in their meeting. As I was making pictures for the organizers, of course, those themes were the main things that I needed to look around. But of course, if you're just doing it for fun, then it's up to you what you are making images of. And of course, it all depends on your motives. And remember, it's not only making images that you thought beforehand. It's about thinking, looking around and changing your opinion or your way of making those images. You have to be alert all the time. Anything can happen in any venue, and especially in demonstrations. As I said, I was making the images for the organizers. That's why I did not make any video footage of me making the images. I was concentrating only on the pictures to make them as good as possible. And number 5. The safety. This demonstration was very peaceful. There was no riots, but it can happen in big demonstrations, so be careful and always consider the importance of the images. Do you really want to risk your own safety while making the images? And of course, if you're a journalist, you might not have a choice, but if you're just a regular hobbyist who want to make some nice images of a demonstration, be careful. And of course, the last one is the gear. I had 2 bodies. Both were Olympus OMD EM1 Mark IIs. The other one had 12 to 14 millimeter pro lens, and the other one had 40 to 150 millimeter lens on it. I ended up making a lot more images with the 40 to 150 millimeters. I took 601 images with the telezoom lens and only 78 images with the 12 to 14 millimeter lens. Usually in a big crowds, you you want to have a very wide angle. So you get the feeling that you are in the thing, that you are close to the people. I think a little differently. I like to use a longer lens on big crowds to pick out details in the crowd. And I'm a big lover of details. I like to make pictures of details more than just general wide angle pictures. And also with the telephoto lens, the perspective gets squeezed a little bit so that the crowd looks more condensed. The people look to be a little closer to each other, etc., etc. And that's just the way I like to make those images. And usually with the telephoto lens, the depth of field is also narrower than with a wide-angle lens. And that also makes it easier to pick out details in the crowds. All these things apply to any events or venues that you might want to take pictures of, or actually you should say make pictures of. But hey, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, and bye for now.